You were trying to visit Azovstal in Mariupol. Why is Azovstal such an important aspect of Ukraine-Russia conflict?
Okay, well, for those who don't know, Azovstal is this bunker, big bunker, where the whole kind of war is focusing right now in Ukraine. There's probably somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 of these Azov battalion guys who are sort of a right-wing group, extremist group, in not really a part of the regular Ukrainian army. It looks like they've taken civilians down there, including children, up to 1,000.
Yeah.
So you have like a Waco times 100 about ready to happen. Okay, so there's a lot of suspense in Azovstal. Of course, there's been some humanitarian where some kids got out 3 days ago, a little bit more got out 2 days ago, a little bit more one. But the whole world wants all the kids out, and they want all the women out who aren't involved in this, and then they want this thing to be peacefully resolved. So that's why it's important. It's where all the focus is right now. And for me, it could mean that the secrets of a illegal NATO bioagent program is also kept in there.
Mm-hmm. In the pit.
In the dungeon down
yes.
there. And we don't know if it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
We've been given indications that there's a general who's involved with the bioagents from Canada, this Cadieu, C-A-D-I-E-U, may be involved. He supposedly had a bioweapons unit, maybe 18, maybe 35 employees. Maybe there was more association with more of the bioweapons. But everybody in Europe has a right to know if NATO's developing bioagents to be used in any kind of war, in any country. So this is a really important story to Europe, I think.
This is very realistic proposition because we know that there's many biolabs in Ukraine and in countries around Ukraine. Let's say Georgia is one aspect. That's probably the one that you first heard about by Dilyana report.
Yeah, there's a great reporter out of Bulgaria named Dilyana, and she originally had papers, documents that talked about how the U.S. State Department, under diplomatic immunity, hiding it from the American people, hiding it from NATO, were running this campaign of developing biological agents, okay,
yes.
in the old Soviet Union facilities. So if the satellite countries peeled away, like Ukraine, like Georgia, like Kazakhstan, the State Department was buying up the facilities, hiring all the guys who used to work there, keeping all the things they were working on, and continuing the programs. Now, they were saying it's for defense, but it's a double-edged sword when you work on these things. So Ukraine was interesting because when I started following this in 2017, Dilyana first broke the story in 2018. There was only 11 biolabs in Ukraine. Now there's 30. Yeah. Anytime you see a buildup like that, it's usually a precedent to warfare. And there was charges by the Russians, we don't know if it's disinformation or not, that there was use of bioagents in Donbass the last 8 years in sort of a bioethnic cleansing, and that's not good. There was even charges that it went into affect animals into Russia. Again, could be disinformation, but we need to find the facts out.
Yeah.
So
excuse me, but when you say bioagents, it's probably an ignorant question, but what are we talking about here?
Well, there's kind of two classes. One's bacteria, so pneumonia, the things that kills people with pneumonia you've experienced is bacteria. There's other things like anthrax that are even more deadly, and brucella and other bacteria. The Russians worked on those. And then there are things, the viruses, everybody knows coronavirus, and some of the more serious effects can be death.
And as far as I know, they also made some gain-of-function research on coronavirus there in Ukraine, right? Or not?
Well, we don't know yet. We do, other labs that I did visit in Europe did for sure do gain-of-function on coronavirus as well as influenza, which is another one. That's the one that caused the Spanish flu. So these are serious 100 million killing pandemic things. It's not to, be ignored. But there was documentation, again, We don't have the vials and the scientists talking about it, but we have documentation, 3 different releases by the Russians saying this was the thing that they were planning on doing with hemorrhagic fevers. Congo, Crimea hemorrhagic fever. Some other ones like...
Which is very serious. Hemorrhagic fevers means bleeding, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like Ebola is a hemorrhagic fever, or Marburg virus is a hemorrhagic fever, Nipah virus, and all these things basically cause all your blood or all your cells to swell and then burst like water balloons.
Yeah.
And then you die from...
internal bleeding.
And dehydration, yeah. So not good. And the Russians say that they were trying to preempt an attack. Now I'm not saying that's true.
Yeah.
I'm just
sure.
saying I'm just covering what the Russians said, which is Lavrov said they were preempting an attack. So we have to see if it's true or if it's not. We can't just say, okay, well, Russia said it, so it has to be a lie. We have to look at both sides.
Yeah, because the war in Ukraine didn't start with the Russian invasion into Ukraine. It started 8 years ago with the overthrow of democratically elected president. According to the UN, more people died in Donbass before the Russian invasion than Slovenians during the Second World War. How come pretty much no one in the mainstream media noticed that before the Russian invasion into Ukraine? Where was their compassion for Ukrainian people then?
That's a good question. I think you being here in Slovenia and being a part of the old Yugoslavia, you know about the wars here, you know about the Western influence in NATO here better than anybody. You know about the Bosnian War, you know about the Croatian War, you know about the Kosovo War, you know about Vojvodina, you know that people can exert outside influence, you know that people can fly in mujahideen from Afghanistan and then use Albania as an aircraft carrier to create all these troubles. And what I've seen here in my week here is the Croatian people and the Slovenian people love each other. We're putting up labor polls together. We're drinking wine together. We're having a great time. I've been to Croatia. I just did a trip to Croatia. I don't see any of that anymore. No, I don't see that. I think those things were created by outside people who had a different agenda. They wanted a pipeline, or they wanted something, or they wanted everyone to have a small government so that they could trample on and put it all into a world government or some other agenda. And I think that same thing is happening in Ukraine. The people who are being put in power have, especially media people, are paid to tell one story. Of course, Stop Lying Media is not one of those. No. Thank God for Stop the Lying Media. But we need more Stop the Lying Medias. But most of them, George Soros, Open Society Foundation, Open Forum Foundation, they fund all these folks who tell their story, which is, don't say anything about the last 8 years, 15,000 people dead in the Donbass, don't say anything about that. It's all just started right now with the invasion of Ukraine. And this reminds me so much of the sort of the Muslim terrorists, the Mujahideen, attacking Milosevic in Serbia and poking the eye of Milosevic, and then eventually you had
the response.
You had the horrific response. Srebrenica was a horrible response, but then that was used to break up all of Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
So, and I think the same thing's happening. They want to do the same thing with Russia. I think that's the end goal here, is that oil in the Baku, they want to carve this thing up in the same way that Yugoslavia was carved. Southern Russia, the area between Ukraine and the Baku. That's my opinion.